Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Natalia Munoz, and I'm an occupational therapy student. Today, I would like to discuss the person environment occupation model using occupational therapy with our clients. The purpose of this model is to understand how the dynamic interaction between the person, the environment, and the occupation make a client independent or be able to participate in meaningful occupations. The Person Environment Occupation Model, or the PEO, was developed by Marie Law in 1996 with 5 more occupational therapists from Canada. The purpose of this model was to help guide the occupational therapy intervention process, and it can be used across the lifespan. It can be used with children, adolescents, adults, and older adults, and it can be used as an assessment to understand what are the deficits that are impacting the person's performance in occupations and how the environment has an impact within this interaction. Or it can also be used to develop an intervention plan. So why is this a very useful tool for occupational therapists? Well, the environment plays a big role on how a person can participate in meaningful occupations. For instance, as occupational therapists, we always use a holistic approach. The person, the client-centered approach is important for us. How the person feels, what the person thinks, and how a person is able to engage in an activity shows us what is meaningful and what can be used as a goal for our intervention process. Now, how the environment has an impact on the person's ability is also very important, because we have many components in the environment that we need to take into consideration to be able to help our clients. For instance, the environment is a physical environment, a cultural and contextual environment, and a temporal environment, virtual environment, and we don't really think about this on a daily basis. However, as an occupational therapist, we need to understand how the physical environment impacts a patient or a client. Where he lives or where she lives, can the client have easy access to reach for the tools that he needs to engage in an activity? Can he walk around the house or in the community safely? Are there buildings that provide the accommodations for a person with disabilities? That is the physical environment. Now, the cultural environment has the social network, the social support for the client. For instance, family members, friends, the neighborhood are a big part of the social support for the client. We can also look at the government agencies. We can look at the schools. We can look at the workplace. Those are part of the social context of the environment, because when the client doesn't have a good social support, they don't have the support from the government that they need, participation in meaningful occupations can be impacted too. The cultural context is also important, because based on where the person comes from, culture means a lot. The values, the roles, the beliefs of the client have a big impact on how the client can perform certain activities. The virtual environment, now let's talk about COVID. We are in a situation where we can't socialize how we normally did for many, many years. We have to keep social distancing. Many individuals have to fully isolate because of health conditions, and they don't want to get sick with COVID. So now what happened? Social context completely changed. Now they don't see family members. They can't even go to the doctor like they normally did. They had to take extra precautions. That environment completely changed for everybody, and it can cause depression, isolation, stress, anxiety. But now we can talk about the virtual environment. Technology, we can use FaceTime, we can use video conference calls, different applications where we can still participate in social activities, we can still engage with other family members. So that's an environment that we can use as occupational therapists to help our clients too. Now, running a group activity using the environment, we need to consider what are the physical aspects of the place where we're going to be. Can the client have access to this environment? What is it meaningful based on the social environment of this client? What are the values, the roles, the beliefs that this client has, and how can we use that to provide a better client-centered intervention? How can we facilitate and adapt the environment so that the client, the person, can engage in meaningful occupations is what the PEO helps us. It's a guide, it's an intervention tool that we can use to adapt the environment, to modify the activity so the person can engage in meaningful occupations and feel independent, feel that there is purpose again for them to engage with others, engage in activities of daily living. So using the person, environment, occupation is always changing depending on the lifestyle that the person has, depending on what's happening at that moment, which is another environment context. It's called the temporal context, like what's happening at the moment. Right now, COVID is affecting birthday celebrations, it's affecting anniversaries, it's affecting many meaningful activities. However, we can adapt, we can teach our clients how to learn new skills so that they can become independent again. For this reason, I think the person, environment, occupation is very meaningful because it not only thinks about the holistic approach of the person, which is the mind, the body, and the spirit. It also looks at the environment in many different aspects, not just the physical. It talks about social context, it talks about temporal, virtual contexts. So it's guiding the occupational therapist to promote more participation, to promote more independence within the client. I hope you like this discussion. Thank you.